Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Courtney Ladner. I'm your host for tonight's American History News, where we cover all sorts of stories ranging all the way back to the 1800s to present day. Tonight we are going to cover the topics of suffrage and populism in around the 1900s. We have all the drama and tales between them, so stay tuned.
If you look behind me, there's a protest going on. I have just been informed that this is one of the largest protests as part of the suffrage movement. Tomorrow is the day of Woodrow Wilson's inauguration as president, and many women, between 5,000 to 8,000, decided to throw a rally today. Women have been fighting for suffrage, their right to vote. As of now, women cannot vote, but many have hopes of a change.
Well, they sure got our attention. Alice Paul and Lucy Burns, the organizers, they together were able to secure a permit to march. Even though these women do have a permit for their cause, we are seeing acts of aggression towards our women from the public. Many have been physically assaulted and have had objects thrown at them. These hurt women are getting the help they need at this very moment. Although many have suffered, this just helps your suffrage movement get heard. Well, we wish them the best of luck for their cause.
And now to a story about C.C. Cat.
Thank you, Natalia. As Natalia mentioned, suffrage was a big part of the U.S. history in the early 1900s. One of the leading advocates for suffrage was C.C. Cat. Born on January 9, 1859, she became known as an American suffrage leader who campaigned for the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is the founder of the League of Women Voters and the International Alliance of Women. Now we're going to pass it off to Kaylee, who has an interview with Alice Paul.
From the streets, we have our special guest. Hi everyone, I'm Alice Paul. I work for women's suffrage. I am also president of NAWSA. I continue to run parades with extravagant acts that include elephants for women's rights. I was arrested and put in jail for holding a protest against President Wilson. I went on a hunger strike. I was force-fed. The people at the prison put tubes down my throat and fed me raw eggs. The president asked for a psychologist to evaluate me. He wanted me to commit to an insane asylum. The doctor refused. Women with opinions are discriminated against, and I am a living example of this.
Hi, I'm Keely Moniz, and I'm here with you tonight to tell you about a mind-blowing story that took place just on November 15th, 1917. Suffragists imprisoned after picketing the White House. They were faced violent attacks on the Occoquan White House in Virginia. Lucy Burns and Dora Lewis were brutally attacked and abused. Lucy Burns was handcuffed and hanged from the top of her cell. Some witnesses say that Dora Lewis was suffered from a heart attack. Alice Paul, another member of the National Woman's Party, aimed to humiliate the president and expose the hypocrisy of the making the world safe for democracy. The women part of the suffrage movement made banners and hung them all around that read, "Mr. President, how long will it take for women to seek liberty?" The women burned speeches of President Wilson and threw them all around. Whittaker and his house guards greeted 33 returning protests on what has been known as the infamous Night of Terror. 44 club welding men were beat, kicked, dragged, and choked their charges, which included at least one 73-year-old woman. Women were lifted into the air, flung to the ground. One was stabbed between the eyes and with the broken staff of her banner. Lucy Burns, which we know, was handcuffed to the bars of her cell in a horrendous position. Women were dragged by the guards, twisting their arms and hurled into the concrete punishment cells.
On August 18, 1920, the United States government added the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The new amendment reads, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation." Susan B. Anthony, who died in 1906, and other activists formed organizations that raised public awareness and lobbied the government to grant voting for rights for women. After a 70-year battle, these groups finally emerged victorious with the passage of the 19th Amendment. To honor Susan B. Anthony's contributions, the amendment is based off the original draft she wrote years ago. While the fight for women's rights was unnecessarily long, It finally paid off, and this achievement will open up many opportunities for the women of today and the future. Now, here's Natalia with an important interview with President Wilson.
Hello, Mr. President Wilson. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the 19th Amendment?
It is an amendment that has gone down in history to have passed on August 18, 1920. I have presented a speech in front of Congress officiating it.
I'm glad to hear that. Now, I know this is a sore subject, but what are your views on the 19th Amendment?
What do you mean?
Well, your speech passing the 19th Amendment, it had been the first time you had endorsed women's rights. Before then, it was safe to say that many of us, for sure, you were not all for it.
In all honesty, I've never been 100% for it, as you said most know. Some claim that I ignore the situation when in reality I have other issues to worry about.
If you have never been all for it and have been busy, why had you chosen now to pass the 19th Amendment allowing us women to vote?
I believe that women have, as of lately, been working very hard and had done a thanks to their war efforts.
Are you sure? I have some sources with rumors saying it has been done in efforts to keep CC Cat quiet about something called the Night of Terror. Would you like to speak on these rumors, possibly confirm them?
I no longer wish to speak on that matter.
Well, thank you for your input.
Awesome interview with Natalia and President Wilson. Now we're going to go to Erin, who's going to talk about NAWSA. Nice job, Erin, but we're going to keep it going with you when we talk about civil rights.
Good evening, I'm Erin French. We have breaking news with the Movement for Free Silver. For anyone not up to date, the Free Silver Movement is in protest of the government plans to remove silver currency. They have coined the name Silver Rights. The group believes that the currency should be redeemable in silver, not just gold. They agitated for free silver, as in unlimited coinage of silver, a metal that has been mined in abundance in the West. Silver Rights hope to produce an increased and more flexible money supply that they hope will lead to a more equal economy and begin new social reforms. The group opposing the hope for silver currency to remain is now called Gold Bugs, and they believe that the only way for a sound economy is to have gold standards, also to ensure the dollar's stability. Experts believe that this change of currency will lead to a decrease in circulation of money and will only benefit the financially elite. Stay tuned for more info.
Speaking of civil rights, we're going to start to talk about populism. Populism is the efforts of farmers to gain economic help. Throughout the 1880s, local political action groups known as Farmers' Alliances sprung up in Middle Westerners and Southerners, who were disconnected because of crop failures, falling prices, and poor marketing and credit facilities. Although it won some significant regional victories, the alliance generally provided political ineffectiveness on a national scale. Thus, in 1892, their leaders organized the Populists, or People's Parties, and the Farmers' Alliances melted away. They demanded an increase in circulating currency to achieve by the unlimited coinage of silver, a gratuitous income tax, government ownership of railroads, a tariff for revenue only, the direct election of U.S. senators, and other measures designed to strengthen political democracy and give farmers an economic party with business and industry.
Today I had the chance to meet with Mr. William Jennings Bryan, the senator from Nebraska who ran against and lost McKinley in the 1896 presidential election. Although he hasn't won an election yet, Bryan is an extremely eloquent speaker, and lucky for us, we have a brand new speech from him.
Hello everybody, I am Senator William Jennings Bryan of Nebraska. You may recognize me from the recent presidential election that I unfortunately lost. But that's not important right now. If you have heard any of my speeches before, I'm sure you can tell that I advocate for the things I believe in very passionately. Recently, the farmers in our country have been pushing for the success of populism, which I completely agree with. For you farmers out there who don't believe me, I push for civil rights to stay, and I am a leader among free silver Democrats. As I say goodbye, I would like to let you all know that I will continue to work towards the success of movements that I support, such as populism, as long as I possibly can.
Thank you, Sarah and William Jennings Bryan, for that awesome interview. That's all we have for you this week, but make sure you tune in next week when we come at you again live with American History News. Thank you and good night.